Hello, welcome to this demonstration and training lesson for the Junior CMS version 4. What you will see here today in this video is a training of how to manipulate individual paragraphs through the site content management area of the stand. For this presentation, I am using one of our demo websites. This is showing version 4 of the Junior CMS. If you have a previous version or a later version of the Junior CMS, you may not see exactly what this video shows. I'll be using two different browsers to do this presentation. The browser that you're looking at right now is Mozilla Firefox, and I'm going to be using Chrome to show the page that we're going to be editing. This here shows the page we will be working on. It is called In-Store Services, and this demonstration is to show how a jewelry store would set up the In-Store Services page as well as sub-pages below it. In this case, that is services, jewelry repair, appraisals, custom design, and specials. This training assumes you've already gone through the orientation video, so the basics of the system will not be discussed. We're going to start the official training here by clicking on the site content icon up on the top and then edit content. Since we're going to be editing the in-store services page of the website, we have to find that in our content tree that we see here. Now there is an in-store services that is up at the top, but that is a navigation control. We need to scroll down a little bit until we get to see in-store services here, which has 5 subpages. As you can see on the front side, this is In-Store Services, the main page, and then it has 5 subpages. So let's see how we would actually go about editing the In-Store Services page, which is where we're going to start. I'm going to click on In-Store Services off our content tree, and this brings me up the paragraph list for this page. I can see the actual site page up at the top. This page is in-store-services.html, and that is an active hyperlink. As long as there's a green check next to it, you are able to click that link and jump right over to the page. From this page, we can also change our content layout. The pre-populated list of layouts in the system will depend on your specific installation, but most systems do have the same set of default layouts that are here. And the most versatile layout is the User Pair Layout 3. To find out what User Pair Layout 3 does, you have this option for a View JPEG or View PDF. And if I click on View JPEG, we can see a graphic version of the directions, so we can understand what the Pair Layout 3 actually does. So I'm going to leave this up on my screen, and we're going to come back to it in a little bit. From the Edit Content screen, we also have the ability to jump back to our navigation settings by clicking this link here. Click here to edit more navigation settings, and then we can jump over to our navigation screen. But since this training lesson does not cover navigation settings, I'm going to skip that for now. There is a hidden area on the screen where you can get more information. It says click for more settings. If I actually click those words, we see an entire new area opens up, which includes our syndication script, our introduction text, and our intro image. These are more advanced features within the edit content, and I'm going to skip those for now and cover those in a later, more advanced training session. In this area that is identified as title and paragraph text, we have what we see are 3 cyan or light blue bars that are listed here, and each one has the word edit and the word delete on both the left and the right side. Within the cyan bars, we also see this title indicator. So that's title number 1. We see title number 3, we see title 200. And then on below that, we also see that there's this paragraph symbol, then the number 1, paragraph symbol number 3, paragraph symbol number 200. And then, as you can see directly to the right, on the right side of these cyan bars, we also have the same number. So if it says paragraph number 1 on the left, we also see that there's a number 1 on the right. If it says number 3 on the left, then there is a number 3 on the right. If it says 200 on the left, then there is a 200 on the right. Each of these numbers I've just identified corresponds to the actual paragraph number that is stored into the system. Junior uses specific paragraph numbers to help control the functionality and flow of how things are laid out on each individual page, as well as how to control special effects on each individual page. Most of the layouts allow for paragraphs 1 through 30, and then other paragraph numbers are special uses. In this particular example, as we start out, we see that paragraph number 1, or title number 1, says in-store services. Paragraph number 3 and title number 3 appears to be blank, and paragraph 200 says this is the left navigation hidden in the stand. And as a reminder, we are in the stand or the administration area or back office, however you'd like to refer to it. We call it the stand for security reasons. As you can see up in the URL, it says perosisjewelry.com/stand. Now, how does these individual paragraphs correspond to what the public page looks like? Let's take a look. Flipping over to the Chrome browser, we see in-store services is the largest headline on the screen, and there appears to be nothing else. If I were to say that this area here is our content area, nothing else seems to be there at the moment. And then we have our left navigation, which shows the main page and then the sub pages. Now again, with these asterisks, this says this is the left navigation hidden in the stand. And that actually corresponds to this left navigation on the side. I'm going to go into paragraph 200 by clicking the edit link. And what we see here is a snippet of code calling what's referred to as an include file. And in this particular case, it's calling an include file from a directory called stand, elements, and then the actual file name is left menu 2-getbreadcrumbs.deep. Whenever you see an include file that is pulling from the elements directory, that typically means it was set up by your web programmer or by your initial system settings. Any include files located in the elements directory were probably custom programmed for your specific website. You would not want to change these settings without first referring to your web programmer for guidance. In this particular case, the left menu to get breadcrumbs actually produces this list of the main section heading and then the subpages. I'm going to click cancel and return to bring us back to our main list of paragraph numbers. Now, to start off the real editing, I'm going to go into and click the edit link for paragraph number 1, and that brings us up our edit paragraph screen. Let me go over a full orientation of what you see on the screen. There is some specific terminology in how we refer to things when you are on a tech support call or when you look in our documentation. On this screen, we have a main box up at the top, and this is called the title text for this particular paragraph. We then have a paragraph rank. In this case, it shows number 1. And then we have this large box here, which is called the paragraph copy box. On the screen, you have the update, redisplay, and the cancel and return. The update will immediately save what you're working on and then bring you back to the previous screen. the update and redisplay will allow you to save your work and then come right back to the screen. And we use this feature when we want to check how things look on the public side of the site while we're still editing. And then we have the cancel and return. And this one will not save any of the work that you've made or any of the changes that you've done, and it will just bring you back to the previous screen. There is a button here called Switch to Editor Mode. I'm going to skip that for the moment, and first I'm going to show you how to edit things in Classic mode. Classic mode is actually what we're looking at right now. We see our paragraph copy box, and we see these items listed in blue to the left and to the right of our paragraph copy box. Each of these items are shortcuts so that will insert HTML code directly into the paragraph copy box. Whenever you click one of these items, that code will insert to the end of your paragraph copy. So if I want to insert the table, the open table tag, I would click the open table tag and it will bring up the necessary HTML to make the open table tag work properly within the system. Now my cursor is currently blinking at the end of the open table tag that I just inserted. Proper HTML would require me to open up a table row, a table data, then start typing, and then close my table data, my table row, and my table. And how that would work is, continuing with this example, I would click on the table row, and you can see it shows up in the next line down. I click my table data, and that shows I would type text here. And then I would close the table cell and close my table row, close my table. If I were to save this, this would then create a table that was with my words in it. I would type my, that should be text, not test. And I'm going to do just that. I'm going to click Update and Redisplay. It saves it and refreshes my screen. Now if I go back to my public page, if I refresh this, you will see it now says I will type my text here. Because there is now a new table that is here with texting. However, we don't need to insert any type of HTML tag into this paragraph copy. We can simply type. I can click Update and Display. Come back to my public side and I will click the refresh button. And we can see here it now says we can simply type whatever we want into this box. The general formatting for your website has been pre-programmed into an existing style sheet. If you'd like to use your system the way it was default set up, you can simply type your words into the paragraph copy box without worrying about what the font, the formatting, the font size, the color, the line spacing, or any other style-related items. The system will automatically apply the predetermined style for you. Of course, if you'd like to change your styles manually, then you have complete control to go in and change those styles right here in this box. With little training, it all becomes easy. One of the things that is set up to make your life easier when editing is being able to simply type into this box without ever worrying about HTML code. If I click Update and Redisplay, and then I go back to my Chrome browser and I refresh this again, you can see that I now have a second sentence in here, which is, 2 lines down from my first. And if I look into my paragraph copy box, you will see, because I pressed enter on my keyboard twice, 1, 2, it then moved that line down 2 more. If I hit update and redisplay, I come back here, you will see that this will then move down 2 more lines. So what the system has done for us, and what it does do for us, is it automatically adds in the HTML break tag. Now, an HTML programmer would know this break tag to look like this. It would be a less than character, the letters BR, a space, a /, and a greater than character. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it in here, because if we were programming in pure HTML, we would actually need to put those break tags in on our own. But the system actually knows that you've pressed enter 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it automatically adds those break tags in for you. There are times when you may not want those break tags to be automatically added into the system. This tends to happen when you are putting in your own specialized code, whether it's JavaScript or some kind of programming code, or some kind of a reference to another page in the system, or when you're working in editor mode. You need to prevent those automatic break tags from appearing. And to control that, we have a link on the right side here called Remove Line Breaks. And if you click that Remove Line Breaks, it adds the numbers 970 to the beginning of the paragraph copy box. Those are the first 3 characters in that copy box. When the Junior system sees those first 3 characters of 970, it knows not to put in break tags. If I click update and redisplay right now, what would happen is, since we have the 970 in there, these couple of lines of blank space that we have, 1, 2, 3, which we can't quite see, so I'm going to put the spaces in here so I can highlight them. Here we are, 1, 2, 3. We actually have 4 lines. So since there are 4 lines in here, we should see this as 2 sentences separated by 4 lines. But because of the 970, when I come back here and I hit refresh, you see that now the 2 sentences are on the same line. If I go back into our stand and I take the numbers out, 970, I hit update and redisplay one more time, go back to the public side and I reload, and you see once again our automated break tags have been reinserted. Going back into the stand now, let's cover our next topic. I'm actually going to highlight and then cut those 2 sentences from our paragraph copy. Now, look over here. We are in paragraph number 1. We're going to now save this by clicking the update button. And I'm going to go into paragraph number 3. And now in here, I'm going to say paste those 2 sentences. I'm going to click on our update and redisplay, and that saves our paragraph 3. Switching back over to what it looks like on the public side, take a very close look at how large the letters in-store services are and the placement of these 2 sentences. I have now moved these 2 sentences into paragraph 3, and there's something special that you should notice when I click the refresh button on the screen. Keep your eyes on the words in-store services. You see how they got larger? One of the special features within the Junior system is that paragraph number 1 is always designated as the main paragraph that controls your header 1 on your page. It also controls the title of your page. Follow my cursor up. We see here, in-store services is the main title that is showing in the tab in Chrome, because that is what we have set as our page title. So paragraph number 1, title number 1, always appears as our header 1 tag and our page title tag. Those are built-in SEO features within the Junior system. However, if you decide to put words into the copy box for paragraph number 1, then the formatting on the header 1 tag will change. Let me go back over there. Click Update. You go back into paragraph number 1. If you leave this box empty, then the title that you have indicated here will always appear in the largest pre-programmed font size as your header 1. But if you put something into the paragraph copy, so if you put words into the paragraph number 1 copy box, the header will be smaller. Let me demonstrate one more time. I'm clicking on Update and Redisplay, coming back to our public side, and you see how this is in all uppercase letters. I'm going to refresh my screen, and there we are. We now have larger font. We have a large font size that is bold, and it looks more or less like Times New Roman in the way this is set up. This is a pre-programmed style. This is referred to as our medium style, medium header style. And you can see, here's the words I just typed. If you put words into the paragraph number 1 copy box, the header will be smaller. So if I go back into our stand, and if I completely delete those words, and I click Update and Redisplay, go back to the public side again, you'll see the sentences highlighted right now. It will vanish, and my header will get larger. So again, pre-programmed into the system is this ability to have your main headline on every page controlled by the words that you put into the title text field for paragraph number 1. Now I'd like to explain so far what we're seeing by bringing the directions screen back up again, which is the user pair layout 3 directions. From this, we can see that it says title number 1, and in parentheses it says medium dark header or large dark header. And then it says paragraph number 1, odd. If paragraph number 1 is blank, then use a large dark header style. If no paragraph number 2, then number 1 will be double width. Well, I haven't mentioned the double width yet, so let me skip that. But let's get back to this. If paragraph number 1 is blank, then use the large dark header style. So in our example, as the reference here indicates, this in-store services showing in a uppercase font is actually a reference to large dark header. When we add something into our paragraph, then we're going to be referencing the medium dark header, which if I go back into the public side and I refresh one more time, you can see this is the medium dark header style. We didn't know what it was at the beginning of this training, but we can see now that this is the medium dark header style. Okay, let me get you back to paragraph number 3. Clicking to edit paragraph number 3, we see here, as I put in here before, we can simply type whatever we want to in this box. You do not need HTML to type in this box. According to our directions, paragraph number 3 says that the title, should we put one in, would be in a medium dark header style. And paragraph number 3, again with this odd indicator, which I'll explain in a moment. And it says if there's no number 4, then number 3 will be double width. Okay. Let's go back here, and I'm going to now insert a title for this paragraph. So I'm just putting in, this is title number 3. I'm going to click Update and Redisplay, and we're going to go back to our public side, and I'm going to refresh the screen. And you can see that there's going to be a number of changes. As you can see, the in-store services is back in our uppercase all caps font to say in-store services. The sentence that I deleted a moment ago is now gone. This new header is now in here. This is title number 3. And we still have our sentences that we've put in here. Notice the automatic line spacing between the title for number 3 and the paragraph copy. This is all pre-programmed as part of the style for this design. For your individual website, these settings will be different. Now let me show what happens when we add a paragraph number 4 into our system. I'm going to click the Update button, and I'm now going to click this Add Paragraph button. When I do that, I am presented with a brand new screen with an add and redisplay, and a cancel and return button. There is no paragraph number listed yet, and although I haven't explained them, there are also the drop downs at the bottom of the screen on this. I'm going to just quickly click the add and redisplay button, and that will bring me to the next highest number paragraph for this page. Since we had a paragraph 200, it wants to give us paragraph 201 automatically. I'm simply going to highlight that and change it to number 4. And I'm going to do some typing. And I'm going to click Update and Redisplay. And now we're going to go back to our public page, and I'm going to refresh this and we'll see what actually happens. We now have a presentation art that says this is paragraph number 4. We can put anything here we'd like in this paragraph. What we have now are 2 paragraphs side by side. This is paragraph number 3 and paragraph number 4. But perhaps the presentation here isn't very clear. So I'm going to take some drastic measures, come back in here, and I'm going to do something which will be completely recognizable. I'm going to copy and paste in a series of dots, which will allow us to see completely where this paragraph is flowing. Refresh over here, and we now see that paragraph number 4 is this entire area of these dots that I've inserted in. Now let's go back and do the same thing for paragraph number 3. But this time I'm going to use a different type of character. I'm going to use the pipe character. And now let me copy and paste this a bunch of times. Click on Update and Redisplay. And go back to our public side, and now we can see how these 2 paragraphs are side by side with one another. If I were to go in and change paragraph number 4 to be paragraph number 5, go back to the public side, I refresh the screen. Now we can clearly see how paragraph number 3 took up the full width of the screen from right to left. This is referred to as double width. When matched pairs of paragraphs exist, they will appear side by side with one another. each one takes up 50% of the screen. So paragraph number 3 and paragraph number 4 are matched pairs. So if a paragraph 3 exists, but paragraph 4 does not, then 3 will be the double width of the screen. That is what is explained in the directions here. This is the title and the paragraph for paragraph number 3, and it shows us an odd number. And then in parentheses it says, if no number 4, then number 3 will be double width, which is what I just showed you as a visual. But if both paragraphs number 3 and 4 exist, because 3 is the odd, always showing up on the left, and 4 is the even, always showing up on the right, if they do exist, then they would automatically be positioned side by side to one another. As you can see, that's what we have here. I'm going to go back into the stand. Now those words that are in there may be confusing a little bit, since they do exist. I'm going to take these out, and in fact, I'm just going to change these pipes to the character 3. And we're going to do some placement experiments using this technique. Understanding how the pair layouts work throughout the entire Junior system is going to be crucial, because everything that Junior does is based on layouts and how they match with one another. So in my stand, you can see that I have a paragraph number 3 indicated by the numbers on the left and the right side, and I have a paragraph number 4 indicated again by the numbers on the left and on the right side. This big block of 3s is what I just typed in there manually. This big block of 4s is what I just typed in there manually. Let's take a look at how this appears now on the public side. I'm going to refresh the screen. And we now see that we have paragraph 4 and paragraph 3 right next to each other. Now, there's a little bit of an alignment issue here, because the 3s and the 4s don't quite match up. That's because we have a title number 3 in. If I were to go in and go into paragraph number 4, and I were to put in there, this is title number 4, then you would see on the public side that everything lines up perfectly. We have paragraph number 3 positioned on the left side and paragraph number 4 positioned on the right side. The titles of each paragraph are aligned, and the characters within each paragraph are also aligned. Now notice how there's absolutely no space between the numbers 3 and 4, as these two are right next to each other in the way the system is programmed. This is a style choice. We could go in and we can edit the style for this to make one of the paragraphs thinner than the other. If I saw this on a website, I would go in and add a little bit of padding in between these paragraphs so that things would line up nicely. But in this particular case, and for this training, I'm going to leave that with no space between the paragraphs, so you can clearly see how these paragraphs do line up next to one another. Okay, I'm going to go back into the stand. Now let's play with our positioning a little more. I'm going to take paragraph number 4 and I'm going to renumber it as a different paragraph number. And I'm going to just go to the next number up, which would be number 5. I'm going to click Update. And we can go back to our public side, and what you're going to see here is, since number 4 was just renumbered, from Junior's point of view, paragraph 4 doesn't exist anymore, so it's going to take this paragraph number 3 and make it the full width of the screen. It's then going to take this paragraph number 4 as we see it, and it's going to move it down into the next logical position. Let's click Refresh. And here we have it. So this is title number 3 along with paragraph number 3. this says it's title number 4 when actually it's now paragraph number 5 in our system. So don't get confused. In the presentation here, I'm only using the number 4 to help us understand how these paragraphs are being manipulated. So that was paragraph number 4 a moment ago, but as I call up our stand again, you can see this says paragraph number 5, even though the content within that paragraph says number 4. The content has no bearing on the paragraph number that it's in. Let's reference back now to our directions for the paired layout 3. And what do we see here? We see that it shows paragraphs 3 and 4 together in a group. Again, if 3, which is an odd number paragraph, if number 4 doesn't exist, then 3 will take up the double width of the screen. If both 3 and 4 exist, then they will be positioned side by side. In the directions, there's then these 4 dots, which represent that this is a repeating pattern that goes on until we get to paragraphs 29 and 30. So this is a repeating paragraph for every even and odd pair of paragraphs. And that is how and why we call this the pair layout version 3. We have several versions of the pair layout from versions 1 through version 8, but version 3 seems to be the most versatile and the one that most people start with and will use throughout their entire website. The other versions are pretty much special cases. Since this is a repeating pattern, when I took paragraph number 4 and I put it into paragraph number 5, it then went to the next repeating set. Let me show you a few more tricks using pair layouts. As we go through the rest of our tricks, I actually would like to take the number 4 out of here and replace it with an asterisk, because I don't want you to get confused as you are watching the training video, because we're going to be moving this paragraph around a lot now. So I'm just going to replace this with a bank of asterisks. And you can see how that appears now on the front side. So the asterisk now represents paragraph number 5. Now going back to our directions, the odd paragraph must always exist if you want to show the even paragraph. Notice how on these directions it always shows that the odd number paragraph is the one that is the double width, and then when the even exists, they are side by side. But there's never an indication on this particular layout that the even paragraph would appear if the odd doesn't exist. Let me show you that in real life. Go back to our example here, and we currently have paragraph number 3, and we have paragraph number 5. If I were to change this 5 to a 6, something interesting will happen. Can you guess? Let's take a look. I come out to the front, I hit reload, and now the paragraph of asterisks is gone. It wasn't deleted because, look, it's still here in our system. It is still paragraph number 6. It's in our system. But now it is completely hidden. It hasn't even been populated on the screen because paragraph 5 doesn't exist. This is a paired layout, so there always has to be an existing pair of paragraphs in order for the even numbers to appear. So if I want paragraph 6 to appear, I would have to adding a paragraph, I would have to add a paragraph number 5. So what I've just done here is added a blank paragraph number 5. Now what happens when you add a blank paragraph? Well, let's find out about that as well. Click refresh. Nothing happens. Apparently nothing happens. The system is actually smart enough to know that it doesn't bother with any blank paragraphs. If you want something to appear, you have to at least put one character into the paragraph. In this case, I'm just going to say number 5. Click Update and Display. I'm going to come back to our front side, and now click on Reload. And you can see here that there is a 5, which has now appeared up on the top, right underneath the paragraph 3. If I put in a title number 5 and update and redisplay, you will see then how the title for number 5 will appear side by side with the title for number asterisk. And here's our character that I placed into the copy box for paragraph number 5. So what you now see is that you have the ability to put paragraphs into the system, and you can move them out into cyberspace, out into an even paragraph number that you're not currently using. That allows you to put in something today, use it for a current event, and then save it for the future. And then after the event is over, you can turn that paragraph off simply by moving it to an even number without having an odd pair. That would then save it for future use. I'm going to click Update. And now I'm going to go back into our list of paragraph numbers. Now I'm going to demonstrate what happens when you click the Delete button. This Delete button is actually pretty powerful, and it is one of the things that admittedly we need to work on within the junior system. Once you click the Delete button, it will delete the paragraph. There is no double checking, are you sure? There is no confirmation of please type a yes to delete this. It just simply deletes it. There's no forgiveness. There is no undo. So be very, very careful as you move your mouse around the right side of the screen and near the delete button. Now, since I have deleted paragraph number 5, as you should suspect, once I go back into the front side, this is the paragraph over here. I'm going to highlight it. This is the one I just deleted. So if I hit refresh, since paragraph number 5 doesn't exist anymore, paragraph number 6 suddenly becomes hidden one more time. I have another intricacy about the positioning of the paragraphs that I want to clearly explain to you. To do this, I'm going to renumber our paragraph number 6 as our number 5. And I'm going to click Update and Redisplay. And then I'm going to go back into our public side and then refresh this. And you see now that our paragraph number 3 exists, and paragraph number 5, the asterisk paragraph, also exists. And you see this spacing that appears? This is a style-defined padding that appears below paragraph number 3 and above the title for paragraph number 5. And there's also another padding which is below the paragraph title for number 5. So all this white space here is a style definition that your web designer or your web programmer had to set up for you. Now, an interesting thing will happen if I take out the title for paragraph number 5. Let's do that now. So I delete it, I click Update and Redisplay. Come back to the demo. I'm going to reload this. And now what we have is there's no line spacing between paragraph number 3 and paragraph number 5. Now, if this was a paragraph or an article and you wanted to have clearly defined paragraphs of text, then you would want to have a double space after one paragraph and before the other. So there are two possibilities in doing this. The first possibility is the one that most people think of automatically, and that is to be in paragraph number 5, to put your cursor right up at the top and press the Enter key. And then click Update and Redisplay, come back to the front, and click Refresh so we can see that there's now a line spacing there. Now that seemed to make sense. However, I intentionally flipped away from the stand very quickly so you couldn't see what actually happened. When the paragraph redisplayed, the enter that you put in there was taken out. This is a functionality in the way the content management system displays paragraphs. And whenever it sees an enter as the first character in a paragraph copy box, through some programming issues, that enter character has to get zapped. Although it was saved and it showed up for one occurrence on the front side, when you go to edit the paragraph in the back, that enter that you pressed on your keyboard, like I'm going to do right now, that got omitted. In order for you to keep it, you actually have to put a space, a blank space, as the first character in your copy box, and then press enter. If I hit update and redisplay now, you will see that space stays, and on the front side, you won't see any change from what we had a moment ago. The same type of spacing. So that is the most common method of adding in a space before a paragraph. However, there is a better way to do it, and that is not to add a line space to the top of paragraph 5, but instead to add a line space to the bottom of paragraph 3. So in the paragraph copy box for number 3, if I click down in the bottom and I press the enter key, now remember that every time you press enter, a break is inserted. Now we need to have a line break after this paragraph of 3's, and we then need to have a blank space. So we have to press enter one more time. So we have 2 enters, that'll create two breaks. If I click update and redisplay, and I come back to the front side, and I reload, and we have the same effect as if we added a blank space to the top of paragraph 5. So you have 2 choices there on how to add a space between your individual paragraphs. A third choice would be to ask your web developer or your web designer to add automatic padding between the paragraphs. Now from here, let me show you what happens if we were to move our asterisk paragraph out above paragraph 30. Going back into our directions, we can see that this says it only goes up to paragraph 30. If I put this in paragraph 29 and I click update and redisplay, when I go back to the public side and I refresh the screen, we once again don't see any net result. You see, the system automatically knows which paragraphs are filled in and which ones are not. So it will only show the paragraphs that have content in them. So you don't have to go in sequential order. You don't have to number them as paragraphs number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can instead number them all odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and so on. Or you can number them as 1, 3, 7, 11, 15, 19, and work your way all the way up through number 29, which is what I'm showing you right here. This is currently paragraph 29. Also, remember that any even number paragraphs, even if it is paragraph 24, any even number paragraphs without their odd numbered pair, if that's a 24, then the odd numbered pair is going to be 23. Without 23 existing, then paragraph number 24 wouldn't exist. If I change this to paragraph number 30, and I click update and redisplay, and I go back to the demo, and I click refresh, you can see the paragraph still doesn't exist. If I come back and change this to 29, click update and display, go back to our demo, click refresh, and there it is, our paragraph is back. Now I'd like to point out some spacing that takes place within these paragraphs. And here's the real reason why it's always better to have extra space and padding at the bottom of your paragraphs rather than at the beginning of them. You see down here where the design calls for this shadow effect, and this shadow effect creates a very, very sharp line between the copy information of our website and the design. If we were to type in some words in here, or random characters, update, redisplay, and then refresh our demo again, you would see how the characters actually hang down and touch that sharp edge of the design. In order to alleviate this, we would want to come in and we'd want to press the enter on our keyboard 2 times, and then redisplay our demo, and you can see there is an eye-appealing white space that is now available right before the end of our design. This is, in fact, an aspect of website design that you should be aware of rather than simply putting content in any paragraph without consideration to how it actually looks on the front side. White space is a very important element and very important necessity to making your website look appealing. Now that we've covered the basics of the understandings of a paired layout, paragraphs 1, paragraphs 3, 4, 5, and 6, we've also covered how we can make a paragraph be saved for later usage by putting it into an even paragraph number, or how we can make a paragraph disappear by having it be any number above 30. What I'd like to cover now is how there are special paragraphs within the Junior system that are designed to be part of your website, and they have special use throughout the website. This here, again, is the demo page that we're using. What I'd like to point out is that this on the side is our left navigation. Now, we were looking at this earlier, and we saw how this menu is created because we have a paragraph that is referred to as paragraph 200. Only because we have a paragraph 200 is this appearing. If paragraph 200 didn't exist, or if I were to delete it, then paragraph 200 would not appear on that content page. In fact, if I were to come in here, and if I take out, and I'm going to simply cut this out of my screen, click Update and Redisplay. Now that makes my paragraph 200 blank. From what we learned earlier, when a paragraph is blank, it won't show up in the design. So let's see what's going to happen now that I've erased the content that's in paragraph 200. Let's flip back over to our design, and I'm going to click Refresh. And now we've seen a structural change to our layout. This entire area on the left, which used to have the navigation menu in it, has now collapsed. And our paragraph 3 and our asterisk paragraph, which is currently paragraph 29, has fully expanded from the left to the right side of the design. This is a standard functionality in all Junior systems. Paragraph 200, if it's filled in, it will grow to fill in the left margin of the content area of the page. Let's go back and put that in just so you can see. I'm going to paste that back in. Click Update and Redisplay. I'm going to go back and view our page, reload it. And there, once again, we see our menu. Now, just to save things, I'm going to throw this paragraph 200 into a random paragraph 40. I'm going to click Update. Now that's just saving the paragraph for me for a later time because I'm going to show you something different right now. If I click Reload, since paragraph 40 is above our 30 upper limit, it's going to disappear off our screen, and the paragraphs 3 and the asterisk paragraph fill both from the left to the right side of our screen. Now let's do a different test. I'm going to come back in, click Add Paragraph, and this time I'm going to put paragraph 200 back in, but as a test and an example, so you can see how this actually works. I'm populating this paragraph copy box with the number 200 simply so you can see how this forms and fits in the screen. Refreshing our public side, and there you can see a full column from top to bottom, which is where paragraph 200 exists. And now you can get an idea that when you add paragraph 200 into the system, it will always fill this left side of the screen. Now, if you find that interesting, there are a couple of other intricacies within the system that are also not apparent right away. I'm going to add another paragraph. Click Add and Redisplay, and it will give me my next highest paragraph number, which in this case is paragraph 201. And in this case, that is exactly the paragraph number I want, because I haven't mentioned it yet, but paragraph 201 is also a special case paragraph. So I'm populating paragraph 201 with all these numbers, 201. I'm just going to click Update to save that. I'm just going to scroll down so you can see how things are showing up. So here's our paragraph 40, which is not showing up anywhere. It's being saved out in cyberspace. Paragraph 200 we saw is our left margin of our content area, and paragraph 200 as you can see here. Now let's find out where paragraph 201 shows up. Come back into the public side, click Refresh, and now we can see that paragraph 201 populates the right margin of the screen. So what this means is you have the ability to include navigation if you like on the left side, navigation if you'd like on the right side. You could also include advertisements in these paragraphs. They don't have to be navigation. You could, for example, in the 200 block here, 201 block, you could put a couple of ads here that say this item is on sale, and then with a link to a product page. Or you could say enter our contest or register for our upcoming event. You can have different ad blocks on the side, or you could have navigation on the side. The system is completely flexible, and it is only limited by your creativity. In case you're wondering, if I were to come in and change 200 to 202, you might wonder if there's a special case paragraph 202 in the system, but in fact there is not. 202 does not show up anywhere on the screen, and you can see how, since I renamed paragraph 200 as paragraph 202, that paragraph is now being held out in cyberspace somewhere. Also note how the right area, paragraph 201, it stayed even though paragraph 200 disappeared. So that gave us a new dynamic shift in how our layout now appears. Just so that you can see and understand in a more complete term, I'm going to go into paragraph 29, and I'm going to renumber that one as paragraph 4. That will be the matching paired layout paragraph for paragraph 3. And so now when I come back and I refresh one more time, you will see that paragraph 3 and paragraph 4 are side by side. Now it looks a little disjointed, and that is simply because paragraph 4 doesn't have a title. So this whole section here is the same, takes up the same space as the title that we see over in paragraph 3. Okay, I have more to show you regarding special paragraph numbers. I'm going to reset our screen a little bit. I'm going to take paragraph 200, change it back to paragraph. I'm going to take paragraph 202, change it back to paragraph 200. And I changed the paragraph 4 into paragraph 5, so now we can get back to a standard setting we had a moment ago. I have two more special case paragraphs I'd like to tell you about. They are paragraph 600 and paragraph 601. And the best way I can explain them is to actually show you what they do on the screen, because they're hidden unless you add information in. So I'm going to start by adding a new paragraph, add and redisplay, and then immediately change my paragraph number to 600. And simply so that you can see where this populates and that it is paragraph 600, I'm doing the same thing again. I'm populating it with several number 600s. I'm going to click Update, and I'm simply going to scroll down so you can see we have our paragraph 3, we have our paragraph 5, we have our paragraph 40, which is hidden, paragraph 200, 201, and paragraph 600. Let's go back to our demo site, and I'm going to click Reload. And now we can see that we have this completely new location for a paragraph. This is paragraph 600. It showed up all the way up here at the top. Now, this may seem like a really, really strange location for a paragraph, but in some cases, you actually do need to have a single paragraph that goes right to left, all the way up at the top, above your standard content. The best example I can show you right away for this would be homepage rotational images. And to see this, let's take a look real quick at the homepage of this website. Clicking on a home link, and there you can see we have a very large image which says large selection of beautiful engagement rings. And this is indeed in paragraph 600. As we scroll down, the rest of the information here is actually in paragraph 1, and then subsequent paragraphs and different kinds of alignments. So within the junior system, the best case to have on your home page, if you're using a JavaScript to insert rotational images, you would put that in paragraph 600. That is pretty much a standard in all of the junior content management system settings. Let's go back to the in-store services page. Clicking on in-store services up on the top, and here we are, we see that paragraph 600 is represented again by the numbers straight across. One of the things I haven't quite mentioned yet is that paragraph 600, 200, and 201 can all be unique on a per page basis. So as long as you add in those special paragraph numbers, you can include that information on your individual content pages. If I can take a moment, I'm going to scroll down, and I would like to point out the AGS, the JA, and the GIA logos down here on the bottom of the screen. The American Gem Society, Jewelers of America, and the GIA. This right here is paragraph 601. But there is another special case that's happening here. Paragraph 601 is actually one of our default settings within the junior setup for this particular demo website. We do not have a paragraph 601 listed on this page yet. But if I were to click Add Paragraph, and I were to get paragraph 601, if I type in 601, and I, again, copy and paste 601 multiple times so you can see how it fills up the space. Click Update and Redisplay. Now let's go back to the demo site. I'm going to hit Reload. And you can now see how those logos at the bottom were replaced by this block of the number 601. What has happened here is, on this individual page, I have overwritten the default settings that were created for this website. Let me review that again. So the icons that we saw for GIA, AGS, and JA, they were set somewhere else in the system, which I'm not showing you right now, but they were set somewhere else to be the default to appear on every page of the website. But on this particular page, the in-store services page, I decided that I would want to overwrite those for some reason. Now, it could be that you simply want to omit those icons or that footer information from this particular page. Or it could be because you want to replace the images on this particular page. Whatever the case may be, you have the power to go in there and add a paragraph 601 to include special information into your footer. Depending on your design and your layout, you may also have a paragraph 602. I suggest you experiment with your own junior system to see how these special case paragraphs actually work. Now let's go back to the stand, and this time I'm going to highlight and actually delete all of those numbers, 601, but I'm going to leave paragraph 601 here. I'm going to click Update and Redisplay. Now, we have a blank paragraph. Now, as we already know, whenever there's a blank paragraph, the information will not appear on the public side of the site. But also think for a moment that we have default settings for those icons that you saw a little while ago. So the question is, will those icons come back or will they not? Let's find out. Click refresh. And we see down here at the bottom, this is the area where those icons would have been. But I created a blank paragraph, 601, and I am now overwriting the default settings. So that means on a per page basis, I can overwrite whatever the defaults are. And you can set defaults for paragraphs 200, 201, for 600, and 601. And then those will carry through the entire site without having to continually reset them over and over and over again on every content page. But then, within each individual page, you can overwrite the settings if you create those paragraphs again yourself. Let me go back into the stand, and now I'm going to delete paragraph 601. That will return our icons back to us. Clicking delete. Remember, there's no forgiveness when something gets deleted. And I come back to the public side, I hit refresh, and one more time we see our icons have come back. Now I know we've covered a lot of information so far, but what I'd like to do now is actually start to enter some real content so you can see what it would look like. I'm going to go into the stand and I'm going to have to start cleaning things up here. We don't need paragraph 600 anymore. I'm just going to delete it. We're not going to need paragraph 201 anymore. I'm just deleting that. I'll need paragraph 200, but I need to renumber paragraph 40 where we stored our navigation as paragraph 200. So first I'll delete paragraph 200. Then I'm going to go into paragraph 40 and renumber that one as 200 one more time. I may or may not need paragraphs 3 and 5. We'll find out as we go through. But let me see how the website actually looks now. Going back over to the demo side and clicking refresh. And here we see a familiar layout we saw a while ago. I'm going to grab some real content from another jewelry site so that we can just populate this and see how things are going to work. Let's go back into our stand, and I'm going to just copy and paste actually copying and pasting this information from another website that I have open on a different screen. Now I'm pressing enter after the last period of our sentence here, pressing enter twice. Again, remember that I'm doing that to create a double spacing effect after every one of our paragraphs. Click update. And taking a look at what our website is turning out to be. So we have in-store services. I pasted in bridal registry wish lists as my title for paragraph number 3, and then I pasted in this blurb, and then I also put in information for engraving as well as the sentence that describes the engraving service. Now I have a couple of other things I could add in. I could add in information about jewelry restyling. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to add another paragraph, add and redisplay, and it gives me paragraph 201, but we know that I really want the next odd numbered paragraph. I have a paragraph 1, I have a 3, I have a 5, so we need number 7 this time. And I'm going to put in information about jewelry restyling. Press enter twice, click update, and then come back to our public site and refresh. And there we have information about jewelry restyling. We also have, I have some information for jewelry repair. So let me put that specific information in. Go back to my site here. Now I'm going to hit return to site content, and that will bring me back to my set of pages that we started with a while back. So we have our in-store services as our heading page, and then we have our 5 subpages. So I have some information for jewelry repair, so I'm going to click on jewelry repair, and then one more time we have the same setup that we saw earlier with the first page we started working with. There is a pre-existing paragraph 200, there is an empty paragraph 3, and there is a paragraph 1 that says jewelry repair. I'm going to go in and edit paragraph number 3. And I'm simply going to copy and paste the information I have from my other sample website that is open up on my other screen. I'm going to press enter twice after the last paragraph in my copy box. I'm going to click update. Go back to our example site, and I'm going to refresh my jewelry repair page. Here we go. I also have information about appraisals, so let's do that page next. I'm going to click on appraisals. Right now it's empty. Go into our stand, click return to site content. I'm going to click the appraisals page. Again, this setup is standardized in this particular installation of the junior system. So we have a heading, already says appraisals. Someone else came in here before us and set all this up. And we have a paragraph 200 and a blank paragraph 3. I'm going to go into paragraph 3, and I'm going to copy and paste the information I have from my other site that's open side by side. Two enters after the last sentence in our copy box. I'm going to click update. I have a frequently asked question about appraisals that is also available in my sample site, so I'm going to click add paragraph, click add and redisplay. This is going to be the next odd number, which is going to be 5 in this particular case. I have a set of frequently asked questions, and I will copy those and paste them in. Pressing enter twice after the last sentence in my copy box. Click update. Come back to our sample site and refresh. The layout and how you present the content is completely up to you. You can add images, you can add text, You can add different styles. It all depends on your level of experience with using the system and what kind of image you want to portray. At this time, I'd like to actually demonstrate what it takes to upload a photograph to the system and then call that photograph to be used as part of our information in one of our paragraphs. Back in our junior system, so far I've only shown you what happens when you click on Edit Content, but now we're going to click on Content Images, and this will bring up a list of all of the images that have so far been uploaded to our system. For this example, I actually want to upload a photograph that would accompany the appraisals information that we have here. So I do have a photograph all ready to go that's on my hard drive. Let's just get it uploaded. I'm going to click on one of these two options up on the top where it says Upload New Content Images with Resizing or Upload New Content Images without resizing. Right now, if you see, it shows that if we do resizing, the largest edge would be 300 pixels, the medium edge would be 210 pixels, and the small edge would be 115 pixels. Every image that you upload to the system, when you choose the with resizing option, will resize according to those measurements there. The image size that's on my hard drive is rather large, at about 1,000 pixels tall, so I'm going to say with resizing. And this is my upload image screen. From here I can upload 5 images at a time by clicking the Browse button and then selecting the image off my hard drive. In this particular case, it says Holiday Cocktail Party 2010. I'll double click that one, and now we see that the image name and the location on my hard drive is right there on my screen. But the name of the image, Holiday Cocktail Party 2010 252.jpg, that doesn't really mean anything. It really doesn't hold a lot of SEO weight. So I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call this image Appraisals and Gemological Services. So I just typed the words Appraisals and Gemological Services right in that SEO file name field right below the image name, and I'm going to click Upload. It'll pull the image from my hard drive, it uploads it to the website, and it renames it to that more SEO-friendly name that I just gave it. So now we see the image name, instead of having the 2010 party name that we had a moment ago, it now says appraisals and gemological services and then the number 45 was added at random just to make sure that you don't ever accidentally overwrite a similar image name. It shows us what our thumbnail image is going to look like. This is the one that's 115 pixels tall, and it shows us what our resized or standard content image would be. I'm going to click the Continue button, and we are now presented with our list of images again. This new image is listed in alphabetical order, and here it happens to be right here. I can hover over it to see a larger thumbnail view, or I can click on it to actually open it up to see what it truly looks like. Close that. Now let's go back to our Edit Content, because I want to pull that image now into our paragraph. So I click on Edit Content, and I'm presented one more time with our content tree. So I have to look for the appraisals page. There it is, appraisals. And this image is for the appraisals and gemological services because that's the name I gave it. So I'm going to go in and edit paragraph number 3 by clicking on the edit link next to the title number 3. And I'm going to scroll down now just a little bit and show you some of the additional options we have down at the bottom of the screen. The 3 in particular I want to point out are the large content image, the medium content image, and the content thumbnail. we have here 3 different drop-down boxes that have a list of all of the images that have been uploaded to your website. From here, we can choose which size image that will get inserted into this paragraph above. In this particular case, I'm going to choose the large content image, and I do have to pick it from our drop-down list. So let's see, appraisals and gemological services 45, that's the name of the image. I remembered it from before. If I didn't remember the image name, I could have clicked this View Thumbnails button and opened up another pop-up window that would allow me to browse my images. Now, even though I've chosen the image from the drop-down, I do have to choose one of these 2 radio options, either to insert the image with a caption or insert the image without a caption. Most of the time, you should be inserting images into your website with captions because people like to browse from caption to caption as they look at photographs on your site. So I'm going to say insert image with caption, and then simply hit update and redisplay. Now what happens here is there is a jumbled mess of what looks like HTML code up here. Certain that is what it is. And it is a table that is inserted into the paragraph copy box, and it has our image in it. Here's our image, which I'm highlighting now. It's saved at images, content, appraisals, and gemological services 45. The size of the image most of the time is automatically detected and applied. Alright, so since that's been inserted, let's take a look and preview how this would appear to a customer. Back on the public page, appraisals and gemological services, I'm going to click refresh. And there's our image. Now you can barely read it, but it says put a caption here. Very, very small. Now I probably would prefer to have that image showing up on the right side rather than the left side, so we can tweak a couple of things there. Now depending on how your system is set up, you would have to ask your designer or your programmer what the built-in classes are. Typically, if you want to move an image to the right side, you would change this setting here where it says class equals quote img hyphen left. You would change that left to right. And I'm also going to change our caption. I'm changing the caption to be something somewhat descriptive, saying, Peter standing next to our microscope we use for appraisals. This way, when people look at it from the public side of the site, they'll actually see who the person is that's standing next to that in that photograph, and some basic details about the photograph. I'm going to click Update and Redisplay, and then go back to our public site and refresh this screen one more time. And there we see the caption says, Peter standing next to our microscope we use for appraisals. Now this appears to be pretty small in our demo, and all these sizes can be preset by your designer or your programmer. For the demo, I just have things looking a little small so that we can squeeze them all on the screen. Now remember what I said about white space. It is quite important. It looks like this caption could be better spaced underneath our image, and also we should separate it from these words over here. Now this is going to take a little bit of practice on your part, but I'll show you how it would happen. So I would come in here and I would say Peter standing next to, and I'm going to hit enter, our microscope we use for appraisals. Hit enter again, and then after the appraisals I'm going to put in a couple of more enters. And that should force a different type of flow of the text on our screen. refresh. And there we go. A little easier to read. The caption doesn't go from dangling on one side of the image to dangling on the other side of the image. It is more centered underneath, as well as that forced our text to better wrap and not interfere with the spacing around the image. Now don't worry if that seemed a little complicated, because this is a demonstration and I wanted to show you that this was possible. You yourself will eventually get the hang. One more time back into editing the paragraphs. Now that I've shown you that there are additional items down here at the bottom, I'd like to briefly talk about each one, but I'm not going to go into them in depth here for this first training video. There are ways that you can pull in internal links from throughout your website to have them appear in your copy box quickly. You can insert different size images, either the smallest image, the medium-sized image, or the large image. You can insert them with or without captions. And those three sizes are automatically stored in the system and available to you for every paragraph. There are many, many different types of specialty programming that are built into the Junior system. Those we refer to as snap-ins. Some of these are intricate code which are built in as extra modules for the Junior system, and some are fancy types of JavaScripts that have been programmed in such a way so that we can use paragraph numbers to control them. Each one of these snap-ins would actually require a single training video on their own. Please talk to your support representative for help on using these or for specific directions. Product layouts are also available to you so that you can turn any page of your site into an actual product catalog. All of the product layouts pull data from your product database and display them on the screen. Again, each one of these product layouts would require a training video in and of itself. Please contact your programmer or support representative on how you can set these up or modify them on your own. I'd like to cover in a little more detail some more information about all of these words that you see to the left and to the right of the paragraph copy box. Each one of these has some kind of a reference and use within the system, and I'd like to give you a brief overview of them now. But before I do that, let me switch to a blank paragraph so we can clearly see what's happening. I'm going to go back to our site content, and let's choose a page that I didn't edit before. I didn't edit the services page, so let's go there. Here we have our paragraph 1, 3, and 200. I'm going to go back to our public side and switch from our appraisals page and click on our navigation that's on the left and go to our services page. Alright, back into our stand. From what we were working with before, we know that having a paragraph 1 title will display in a style called large dark header. I'm adding that in here just for reference. If I refresh our screen, you'll see in parentheses it now says large dark header. I'm going to go into paragraph number 3. And I'm adding a title that just says Need Dark Header. We can see what it looks like on the public side. So we've identified these before. In this example, this is what the header 1 looks like when it's by itself up at the top, in the large dark header type of style. This is a secondary heading known as medium dark header or mid dark header. These are two standard classifications within the junior system. Typically, whenever you put something into the title field, which is here, or shown here, those will show up in your header styles. But on the other hand, if you'd like to add information into your paragraph and control what the styles look like, we can certainly do that as well. On the right side of our paragraph copy box, we have a number of links here. One that says large dark header, medium dark header, and SM dark header, or small dark header. If I were to click on this large dark header, I would have an HTML tag which appears in my paragraph copy box, and I could type anything I'd like here. Now when it comes to HTML, which that's what you see here, this is a very basic HTML tag. It's referred to as a span tag, and with a span you can apply a class and a style. Now the system tries to take care of this for you. You don't necessarily have to know exactly how to use this, but you do have to know how to properly click on your blue options on the right and on the left. So if I want to have a large dark header, I would simply click on my large dark header blue link. It inserts it into the paragraph, and then after I'm done typing my header, I click the close span option, and that now inserts a closed span into my paragraph. If I click update and redisplay, we can see what this does on the front side. And that's a lot of words. That's a very large header. Now let's take a look at what happens if I do a medium dark header. I'm going to press enter a couple of times, and I'm going to hit medium dark header. Now something I want you to take notice of. Whenever you click one of these blue HTML links on the right or the left side of the paragraph copy, it will always insert it as the last item in the copy box. Now that means if you have 1,000 words in here typed out and you click on one of these blue links on the side, it will insert that HTML tag as the 1,001st word all the way down at the bottom of the box. It does not, to be more specific, insert wherever your cursor is. It only inserts at the end of the box. Let's type some more words. Okay, this is the same as the subparagraph heading, need dark header. I'm going to close my span tag one more time. Click update and display, and then come back to my sample page and refresh. And there we see it. Medium dark header up here is the same as this one here. Just like the large dark header we have in the center is the same as a large dark header up at the top of the screen. Let's continue with this exercise. Clicking one more time into the box, I'm going to hit enter 2 more times, and now I'm going to introduce you to the SM dark header, the small dark header. And I'm going to close my span and hit update and redisplay. Come back to our sample and refresh. And you can see this is a considerably smaller header. It's still a bold font, but it's not as large as medium, and certainly is not even the same style as the large dark header. We have a few more types of settings I want to show you. We have different font sizes that can be applied to content as you're typing. We have the VSM, which is very small. We have the SM, which is just small. We have SMIL, small italics. We have medium. We have medium bold. We have large, and we have large bold. We can try each one of these. I'm going to click VSM, and that gives me a span class for font very small. I'm going to then close my span, press enter. I'm going to now insert my font small. Close my span class, press enter, font small italic. Close my span class, press enter, font medium. Close my span class, press enter, font medium bold. Close my span class, press enter. This is becoming a little repetitive, but we're almost done. Here we're doing our font large. And then finally our font large bold. Update redisplay. And we can see what this will look like on the public side. Each of the font selections are automatically programmed in by your programmer or your designer. You don't have to worry about what the actual typeface will be, because that has been pre-selected as part of the design for your website. I'm going to add 2 lines of white space at the bottom of paragraph 5, because now we're going to go into a new paragraph and we're going to do a little different of an exercise. I'm going to add another paragraph. I'm going to call this one paragraph 7. And I'm going to paste in some text that I'm simply copying from another website. I'm going to click Update and Redisplay so we can see what's actually happening now on the front side. So here's all of the sample fonts that we've added in, all of our sample headers that we've added in, our paragraph 3, our paragraph 1, and then down here is the text I just added. Now we're going to try to modify some of this text. Go back into the paragraph. Now if I'd like to make the words conducting appraisals to be a bold font, I could either know what the bold HTML tag is off the top of my head, or I could look on the left side and I can say, all right, where is this? Open bold. Click Open Bold, and you see how this HTML tag, which is simply a B surrounded by a less than and a greater than symbol, it inserted at the bottom of the paragraph copy. As I said before, anytime you click one of these helpful blue links on the right or the left, it always adds it as the last item in the paragraph copy box. So I would have to highlight that B, and I would have to drag it to where I want, which is right there at the beginning of conducting appraisals. Now the next thing I have to do is I have to close the bold tag. All HTML tags require an open and a closing tag. So looking over at my helpful links again, we have close bold. I'm going to click that, and now we have a slightly different B tag. It has a / in front of the B. I'm going to highlight that, and then I'm going to drag it and drop it after the word appraisals so that the words conducting appraisals can be in bold. And click Update and Redisplay to save that, and then go back down to our sample, and let's highlight this now. So here's the word conducting appraisals. Once I refresh the screen, those 2 words should be in bold. And there they are. Now, conducting appraisals using the bold tag looks to be the same as the font medium bold. That is a typical setup for the junior system. Normally, the standard font size for your website is always going to be font medium, and then if you use the standard B tag, you can make things look font medium bold. Any HTML tag can be used within the paragraph copy box. There is no limit as to your creativity that you can use once you start to experiment with HTML and adding things in. There's some caveats though, and remember that if you start adding in specialized code and want to remove your line breaks, you always have to click on remove line breaks as I showed you earlier in this video. There is one last topic, and that is to give you a more specific understanding of how images are actually inserted into your paragraphs. Let's try inserting an image that we had before. I'm going to choose the large content image, but this time I'm going to insert it without a caption. And I'm going to look for that appraisals image that we uploaded. There it is. Now before I insert that and click the Update and Redisplay button, take a close look at the paragraph. The first words here are, please remember that a professionally constructed. Okay? Now when I click Update and Redisplay, we're going to see a change. We now see what appears to be a jumble of HTML up here, because there is a less than symbol, img, src equals something, and then height, width, alt, title, border, style, float, right, padding. Wow, this gets pretty confusing if you don't understand what you're looking at. I've placed the cursor right before the word please remember. I'm going to press enter a couple of times because I want you to see that this here is the full HTML tag that was inserted to make this image appear. If I go back to our public side and I click the refresh, we'll now see that this is the familiar image we saw earlier, and it is floating over on the right side of our screen. Going back into edit, and what I want you to consciously realize is that the image inserted right at the beginning of the paragraph. If I wanted this image to appear down here right before the name Peter, I would have to highlight this and then drag it down. When I click Update and Redisplay, we would see that it gets saved in place, and then looking at it on the front side, the image would slightly move. You see how now this first sentence is above the image, and this image is now on the same line as the sentence that starts with Peter is fully trained. Dragging and dropping within the Junior system, or within any program actually, can sometimes be a bit frustrating, depending on the precision of the mouse, depending on the age of the computer. Sometimes dragging and dropping doesn't end up putting things in the right place that you expected them to go. So within the Junior system, we have a more convenient and more exact way to insert images where we really want them. To start over again, what I'm going to do here is I've deleted that image of Peter standing next to the microscope. I'm going to click Update Redisplay. And this time, I'm going to point out that over on the side here, there is a blue link that says Insert Image Tag. I'm going to click that. And what I see now is this less than, img, and a greater than. Well, this is a shortcut that's been built into the system. Whenever you're inserting an image, you can use this less than, img, greater than to specifically indicate where you want an image to appear. So if I choose to leave the img down here at the bottom, I can go in and pick any image to insert, and it will indeed appear down and replace the img tag that I had in there. So instead of showing up at the top, it now shows up at the bottom. Let's delete that and try it again. So if I say insert img, and I decide to choose this Moby ring, here we have the image appeared right there at the bottom. Let's take a look at how that appears on the front side. Here we have our ring image that was inserted. Now, if I want to have that image appear at at the beginning of a paragraph, I can click the Insert Image tag, I can highlight the IMG, and then drag it. But you know what? Dragging it somewhere could be just as tricky as the drag and drop of the image in the first place. So don't be afraid to just manually type. Less than, IMG, greater than. And that's where you want your image to appear. I can come down here, I can choose that same image again, click Update and Redisplay, and it automatically appears. I'm going to highlight the HTML tag in full. It's a little tricky to see. It's right here. Go back to our main site. Now what will happen is this ring image will move up and it'll show up on the same level as this sentence here. This image is showing up on the right side, and the reason for that is because of this word there, which says right. If I want it to show up on the left, I simply change that to be left, L-E-F-T, hit Update and Redisplay, and then refresh our public page. And there it is now on the left side. A lot of ground was covered in this video, all based around content management and editing your content paragraphs. With this information, please don't be afraid to edit your own website, perhaps create a sample page for you to experiment on before you actually put things live. Because of the amount of information covered in this video, I suggest you review it one more time to make sure you get the finite details. If you need additional assistance, you can always call your support representative or schedule a telephone-based training class. Thank you for using the Junior Content Management System.